The first thing you feel is some heaviness around your body, as if you're sleeping under a soft but weighted blanket. It feels nice, and you're too lazy to do anything. Fortunately, you gather enough strength to move the blanket. You open your eyes, and it's weird. You're surrounded by some blue glow. You want to rub your eyes and discover that you have tentacles instead of hands. How about skipping the part where you're terrified and can't believe you've turned into the Kraken? After a couple of days of existential horror, panic, and total madness, you finally calm down. Now, let's figure out what it's like to be the most terrifying ocean monster. So, that heavy blanket is water pressure. It's colossal at the depth where you're hiding. Few living beings can withstand it. Take a passenger car down there, and it will burst apart under the heavy weight of the water. But you're the Kraken. You're more powerful than any car. Your body doesn't collapse in such conditions. Your thick elastic skin can withstand any pressure, and strong muscles allow you to move freely here. And here's the thing with the blue glow. You're so deep down that sunlight almost doesn't penetrate here. It's hard to tell where's up and down because of the water pressure. But fortunately, you have huge eyes that, like the lenses of a telescope, catch the light coming from the surface. An ordinary person can't see anything except darkness at this depth. But you have something like a night vision device built into your eyes, so you see this blue glow. There's almost nothing at this depth. It's only endless, heavy emptiness. You can see a few fish and several wrecks of sunken ships. The sea creatures you meet here are pretty unusual. These are anglers and all sorts of transparent squid. Come to think of it, giant squid are your only friends here, and you're like a king to them. In general, hanging out close to the ocean floor is pretty boring. You sleep and eat, that's all. It would be best if you swam higher to get more snacks. You rise, and the water around you becomes brighter. More and more sunlight reaches this place, and you finally meet other inhabitants of the ocean. Turtles, sharks, jellyfish, octopuses, and stingrays dart away as soon as they notice you. All of them except jellyfish. They don't care. You look for a place to eat and notice a shoal of fish. Great, here's lunch. After you've eaten, you stay there, scaring fish and dolphins just for fun. You like the way you can control your tentacles. You have 10 of them. It's impossible to put into words what you feel, but imagine that the fingers on your hands have become huge, like pool cues. And it's incredible. You can extend your tentacles to be as long as a passenger Boeing. Also, you have suction cups on them. You can grab anything so tightly that no creature will slip away from you. Thanks to the tentacles, you swim fast. First, you move them in different directions, then press them together, propelling yourself forward. Strong streams of water that you create push all the fish aside. You notice a blue whale. It's the largest mammal in the world. But next to you, it looks like a puppy. So, you swim, eat, scare fish and other marine creatures, and that's it. Your life is kind of boring. And how long will it last? 100 years? 1,000? You want to have some fun. So you swim up to the surface and get almost blinded by bright sunlight. You try to get used to it. The water is quiet. There's no wind. You look around and notice a tiny dot ahead. Wow, it's a large wooden fishing ship with sails. Finally, you'll have some fun. You can't wait to see people and tell them about yourself. So you're happily swimming toward it. But if someone was watching you, you'd probably look pretty scary. You get stuck in a fishing net. It's thin, so you easily tear it apart and rise to the surface. The people on the deck are terrified. They scream and run in different directions. Hey guys, where are you going? I just want to hang out with you. They seem so small. Fishers throw harpoons and axes at you, but you don't feel any pain. You put one tentacle on the wooden deck and accidentally break it. The whole ship is fragile, like a matchbox. Okay, it's better not to touch it. You turn around and accidentally flip the ship over. All the people that were on board are now in the water. Fortunately, you have enough tentacles to save them all. You catch every fisher and see the horror in their eyes. Someone even faints. You put the ship back on the water and help the people return to the deck. Then you push the boat away and swim toward land. But you decide not to show yourself to people on the shore. Those sailors you saved will tell everyone how they survived meeting a giant monster. Everyone will talk about how terrible you are, but no one will mention that you also saved them. How unfair. You return to the ocean depths and fall asleep. Some strange sounds wake you up. It's like water dripping from a tap into a sink. You open your eyes and see faint flashes around. Oh, well, that's interesting. You swim up and realize that a thunderstorm has woken you up. It seems rather severe. The sky is black and the waves are huge. You notice a big vessel sailing amongst this chaos. This ship is different from the one you've seen before. It's made of iron, and it has no sails because it's a modern cargo ship. It seems that you've been asleep for a couple of 100 years. The people on board notice you and fire a signal flare. A bright red light blinds you. You spread your tentacles and accidentally push the ship. It's heavy and doesn't flip over. It seems that technology was developing while you were sleeping. The storm is getting stronger. The ship is rolling from side to side. You try to hold it with your tentacles, but it scares the people on board. They scream, and you understand their reaction. A colossal monster has come out of the black depths and grabbed their ship. It's unpleasant to see that they're afraid of you, so you decide to swim away. Offended, you're hiding close to the ocean floor. It turns out it's not much fun being the kraken. You can only hang out with fish, but they can't talk. People are afraid of you, and you don't want to make them uncomfortable. You feel so alone in this world. You eat your lunch and go back to sleep.
Hey, Mr. Kraken, can you hear me?
A voice says. You wake up and shudder, terrified. Who said that? Were all the stories about the Flying Dutchman true? Have you just heard some phantom speaking to you?
I understand you're confused, Mr. Kraken, so swim up to the surface and you'll find out everything.
A few minutes later, you come out of the water and see a huge flying ship. It's floating right above the water. But the most fantastic thing is that people on the deck are not afraid of you. They look at you with interest, and even with some sympathy. You notice a man in a strange helmet among them.
Hi, it's me talking to you, thanks to this telepathy device. You can think about anything too, and I'll hear you.
It's the 24th century. People have invented technologies for communicating with animals and fish. They found out that almost all creatures have no thoughts and live following their instincts. But then, people detected some brain activity coming from the ocean depths. They discovered you. You seem to be one of the most intelligent beings on the planet, and people are very interested in communicating with you. Finally, the centuries of your loneliness are over.
The food on the tables in the cruise ship's dining room seems freshly made. It looks like everyone just picked up and left. You panic and run outside to the main deck. There are plenty of slippers and sandals lying around, but no people around. You bend over the railing and see that the cruise ship is still moving. There's not a single staff member in sight. Your first guess is that they've all gathered somewhere for some reason, so you make your way to the captain. You walk through the long and maze-like corridors before you reach the control room. The door is wide open and someone has set the ship to cruise control. Some scenarios play out in your head. Scenario number 1 is that while you were asleep, everyone else woke up and decided to pull a prank on you, so they must be hiding somewhere on the ship. When you freak out because no one is around, they'll pop out of nowhere and surprise you with an awesome party and cake. The second scenario you come up with is that while everyone was enjoying their cruise, the ship accidentally entered the 4th dimension with everyone, including the animals on board. But then, why did they leave you behind? The third possible scenario is that everyone found a better cruise ship nearby and decided to abandon the ship for a better one. They just forgot to tell you. But why did they leave their stuff behind and their food half-eaten? You try to figure out what the controls mean, but it's just a bunch of random gizmos and flickering lights. There is no pop-up manual to study, but there is pretty fast Wi-Fi. You start your laptop and do a quick search on what some of these things mean. You quickly figure out that the ship is in safety mode and has automatic sensors to detect when the water gets too rough. You open up social media and try to contact some people, but your phone doesn't have a connection. Only the laptop, which is connected via cable, works. There's a radio to contact the mainland. You ring in, but no one's answering. Suddenly, your notifications pop up. You look at photos of your friends on vacation or back home. But they're not there. Only the backdrop with no one in there. Everyone has officially disappeared, except you. You try one last time to contact the rest of the world, but nobody is answering. You check out some of the cruise details and find out that the ship will need around 11 days until you reach the nearest dock. After looking at the map, you see a small remote island that's only 4 days' trip away. The cruise ship travels around 20 knots, which is around 23 miles an hour. Meanwhile, you discover the ship and enter some of the fancy places. The ads on TV just show an empty backdrop of the cruise ship without people, which makes it look quite lonely. On a 7-day cruise, a large ship can use over 9,000 pounds of lettuce and 45,000 pounds of eggs. In general, there are 2,000 steaks and 1,000 baked potatoes consumed per day on a cruise with more than 1,000 people. There is so much food and ingredients on the ship that you can technically last for years. You reach the receptionist desk and talk over the intercom radio to make official announcements. Hello? Hello? Just the sound of crickets. Okay, if this is some kind of prank, it's not funny. You can come out now. I'm going to the underdeck for some snacks. You wait for an answer, but no one is coming. You decide to go to the lower decks of the ship, but before you head down, you check out the ice skating rink with no one there. You slip on some ice skating shoes and go for a little spin. It feels good with no one to bother you or tell you what to do. After that, you check out the game room and play some arcade games. You use the coins from the counter and play for hours. The sun begins to set, so you decide to have a refreshing drink and enjoy the view. You sit on the top deck where only the VIPs are allowed and grab the biggest sunbed to lay on. It's so quiet that you can hear the ocean waves. You fall asleep there and wake up the next morning because of the bright sun. You walk around trying to see what to do. You grab a golf club and start swinging. You get the balls into the ocean and keep playing until you get bored. You realize that you got sidetracked with the activities and want to go to the lower decks of the ship. You check out the staff-only entry with a pass that you found lying around. You start descending to the bottom. It's getting darker. The power isn't working, so you grab a flashlight and look through the rooms. Crew members usually live in a dorm-style room with shared bunk beds. They have a common area for eating staff meals and have access to other recreational activities. The kitchens that serve the main restaurants are also located in the bottom areas. All the rooms look the same. There's a lot of noise coming from the engine room, which makes it creepy. The pipes are clanking and popping sounds bust from random places. The lights are flickering. There are shadows following you as you're moving with the flashlight you picked up from one of the rooms. You're scared. You call out to see if there's anyone there, but all you hear is your own voice echoing through the corridors. You're lost. You try to find your way back to the top decks, but everything looks the same. You start running and panicking. You trip over something and lose your flashlight. It's very dark. You wave your arms around and try to find your way out. You put your hands on the wall and try to navigate around. You see a bright light at the end of the corridor. You walk towards there. You end up reaching one of the central kitchens with plenty of food lying around. There are dozens of fridges and a whole kitchen dedicated to desserts. Your stomach growls from hunger. You eat some of the most exotic and top-of-the-line food that can cost up to $1,000 per dish. You spend the next few days gobbling up the yummy treats, playing golf, and partying on the dance floor. 3 days later, you maxed out most of the fun stuff of the cruise ship. While basking in the sun, you see an island in the distance. You grab your binoculars and notice the dock where the ship is heading to. You quickly head to the control center and see the map. It needs 30 minutes to arrive, but you don't know how to park the cruise ship. You end up lowering the anchor to stop the ship. You'll then use the rescue boats for rowing to the island. You gather some supplies and food and row. Maybe someone on the island can help you out. You descend and row to the shore. You enter the city, but it's empty. People have left their cars in the middle of the road during their commute. You head to the police station to see if you can get some answers, but nothing. Months later, you've explored the whole island and saved plenty of food from the cruise ship. After 5 years, you've taken complete control over the island and learned how to drive the cruise ship properly. You haven't seen a single person since that day on the cruise ship. It's like everyone picked up and evaporated. 10 years later, you're sitting in the radio tower. You have a full-grown beard and fields of crops all over the island. You haven't stepped foot on the cruise ship for 3 years. Suddenly, you catch some signal on the radio in Morse code. Someone from the mainland is trying to contact you. You decide to get back on the ship and make your way there.
You get a notification on your phone saying that the internet will cease to exist in 7 days. You toss your gadget aside and continue watching TV. Suddenly, you see a breaking news notification pop up, and the news presenter repeats what you've just read in the message. The channel broadcasts live footage of people panicking in the streets and losing their minds. You look out of the window of your apartment and see people running around carrying their phones and laptops. You go down and try to avoid the chaos by standing in an alleyway. Behind you, someone is mindlessly walking around muttering, "No more internet," over and over. You get a call from an unknown number telling you that you have to meet someone in an unknown location. You open the map on your phone and go there by car. From the outside, it seems to be an abandoned building. But from the inside, it's a high-tech facility with scientists in hazmat suits and lab coats. You've made it just in time for the briefing. A scientist with gray hair walks into the projector room and begins his presentation. He explains that these days there are more than 4 billion people using the internet, and there's no way to stop the World Wide Web from crashing. There are more than 74 zettabytes of data online now. A zettabyte is 1 trillion gigabytes, which is a lot of zeros. A Word document for a gigabyte of data has around 65,000 pages. So for 74 trillion gigabytes, that's far too many zeros for me to say it in one breath. But it's around 4,810,000 times 1,021 pages. A sheet of A4 paper is 0.004 inches thick. For every gigabyte, we'll have 22 feet of stacked paper. Everyone zones out halfway through the lecture, but the lab coat people begin working immediately. You get assigned to help print out the internet. You take your place in the assembly line along with another 100 people. Day 1. It's your first day, and you're handling a printing press. The entire complex is filled with printers. People are constantly moving back and forth, bringing in paper from trucks. You start off by printing out everything related to health. Then you move on to other crucial documents. You don't have time to read anything. You also have to make sure that one document has around 8,000 words. You work from morning till evening, then the night shift takes over. You're only allowed a lunch break, a total of 20 minutes of stretching, and a visit to the bathroom. Everyone is working mechanically. The news program in the background shows countries all over the world doing their part of the work. At the opposite end of the facility, there are other teams. They download videos and audio files. After your shift is over, the night staff comes in. You clock out and head home. You realize that during this day, all the teams around the globe have covered no more than 1% of the information. Feeling demotivated, you look around. It's been prohibited to create new content unless it's extremely urgent. Each day can produce so much information that there won't be time to download it. Day 2. You're back at the assembly line. You didn't sleep well last night and can't concentrate. Everyone else around you didn't have a good night's sleep either. Right before lunch, some people pass out in their working places and get treated right away. There are many other people around on standby, ready to take over. You print out the rest of the most important documents. Then you move on to the second-tier data, like articles, blogs, and so on. Your shift has been extended by another 2 hours. You go home exhausted and totally unprepared for the next day. Day 3. You arrive at work to see a whole new complex built next door. They've apparently built it overnight. You've been assigned to the new building. Your task is to print more articles on paper. Your shift has been expanded by another hour. You and everyone else are too tired to do anything and can barely keep your eyes open. Just a few days are left, but only 15% of the internet has been printed. They're setting up yet another building with even more printers. It's close to nighttime, and you're still working. Finally, the night crew comes in and takes over, but they don't let you leave. You've been told to stay in a community hall. This way, you can save time by not commuting to work. You're escorted to the hall you're going to share with 100 other people. You try to sleep, but you can't. You toss and turn, but your eyes remain wide open. Day 4. A bell wakes you up. It's time for a quick breakfast. One by one, people from the night shift head to their community halls. 20 minutes later, you're back at the assembly line. With a mere 3 days left, they're pushing you even more. You look outside and see that even more buildings have sprung out of nowhere. Trucks filled with paper are driving back and forth, causing traffic jams. An underground bunker has been constructed in the Sahara Desert. It stretches for miles and is large enough to store all the documents and records. The trucks carry a few tons of paper each. Then, planes transport this precious cargo to the Sahara Desert. More and more people can't handle it and start to fall asleep while standing up. The production slows down, and an emergency bell rings so that more people can take over. But there isn't enough personnel. Many people are improvising and multitasking. The entire system is out of control. If the production stops for even half an hour, tons of information won't be printed out. You head to the community hall to have some rest. You see more recruits arrive. There are thousands of people working at the facility now. Day 5. You head back to the assembly line and continue printing. But no one is in the mood. The production is slower than it should be, even though there are only 2 days left. The news shows that people in the streets are still panicking. Many of them are filming themselves, but it's useless since it won't be archived. With the whole world working double time since day 1, around 70% of the internet has been printed. But people are running out of paper. Paper manufacturers can't keep up with the demand. By the final day, there may not be any paper left. Day 6. You feel tremendous pressure. Everyone is nervous. People make mistakes more and more often, which slows the process down. Since the printing machines have been working non-stop for 6 days, many of them have broken down and got replaced. Day 7. This is it. Only several hours are left. You didn't sleep at all last night. In fact, the whole world was awake, waiting for the countdown to begin. All the important stuff has been printed. All that's left is more trivial things. And still, even they shouldn't go to waste. Everyone, including the night crew, is working double time. Paper production companies have found a way to produce more paper just in time. 12 hours left. Your eyes are closing. Your body is weak. The only thing you crave is your bed. You're hungry, and your head feels heavy. The video and audio teams have officially finished downloading and backing up everything. Only a few countries still print out the information. 1 hour left. You're mechanically clicking print, adjusting the word count, and fixing the margins. You've been doing it for such a long time that now you can do it with your eyes closed. But you jolt up every now and then and try to focus on your work. The whole world tunes in for the end of the internet. Only 0.5% of data remains unprinted, but you're minutes away from the internet shutdown. 3, 2, 1... And the internet officially doesn't exist anymore. Instead of causing chaos all over the place, people just quietly stand in the streets. They seem to have accepted the situation. Phones are now only used for calling, texting, and doing some basic stuff. If anyone wants information, they go to libraries and bookstores. Within the first 7 days, the world's economy plummets. Companies have to find ways to work without the internet. The banking system has collapsed since everyone has withdrawn their money from their accounts. No more social media news and hashtags for possibly the most intense moment in history. You breathe out and go back home to the world's first day without the internet.
The year is 2160. The place, the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Japan. The ocean seems calm, at least the surface does. The ocean floor is cracking right now. Boom! The earth opens up, magma shoots out. The crack in the ocean floor triggers an earthquake, and a massive amount of energy shoots into the ocean. And now for gravity to get involved. It pulls the water down and makes it move faster and faster. It's a tsunami. A wave as high as a skyscraper plows toward Tokyo at 500 miles per hour. That's millions of tons of water. It would be awesome to take a picture of it, but there's no time to admire the power of nature. The tsunami's about to hit Tokyo Bay. The tsunami smashes ashore and starts attacking the largest structure on the planet, the Tokyo Pyramid Metropolis. It's 6,600 feet tall. That's 5 times the height of the Empire State Building. Imagine if the entire population of Denver, Colorado lived and worked in one building. The Tokyo Pyramid Metropolis, TPM, can handle 750,000 people at a time. Incredibly, the structure withstands the impact, and most of the tsunami's energy seems to have just disappeared. This time, engineering stands up to nature. TPM was built by the Shimizu Corporation, which was founded in 1804. The pyramid is the most stable structure around. If you don't believe me, go to Egypt and see the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's lasted 4,500 years and it's still going strong. The TPM is built on water and consists of 204 individual pyramids. They look like bunches of grapes stacked on top of each other, 8 tiers in all. Only in this case, each grape is the size of a Vegas casino. The TPM's actually hollow. That's how it defends itself against typhoons and tsunamis. It doesn't meet the wind and waves head-on, but lets all that energy just pass right through it. Robots and autonomous control systems run this place. It runs on solar, wind, and wave energy. The pyramids are connected by passages, all in all about 85 miles worth. They connect everything and are maintained by AI that always finds you the fastest way to get from Pyramid A to Pyramid B. The TPA's obviously the city of the future, but human tech isn't quite ready for it just yet. Originally, engineers decided to install the pyramid on 36 columns, all dug into the ocean bed. If you build a pyramid that size out of steel and concrete, you'd be looking at 50 million tons of load press in on itself. The TPM would have collapsed under its own weight and imploded into the ocean. They needed something 1,000 times lighter than concrete and stronger than steel. So, what's this futuristic material? Look at this old guy. It's the first car on the planet with an internal combustion engine. It hit the road in 1885. And this is the first artificial satellite that humans launched into space. It only took an evolutionary blip to go from the first horseless carriage to our first flight into space. That TPM's not looking so ridiculous. Hey, we can do anything. The solution is carbon, and it's everywhere. It's the rod in your pencil, and the diamond in your crown or ring or industrial drill. But we don't just need ordinary carbon, we need graphene. It's a type of carbon we can make nanotubes out of. They're thinner than a human hair, but 400 times stronger than steel. And most importantly, they're light. Nanotubes aren't affected by chemicals, oxygen, or water. Perfect for the TPM. That's just a fancy way of saying the thing's not going to rust. Shimizu has plans for a power station on the moon, an underwater city, transforming the Sahara Desert into a huge oasis, and much more, but they aren't the only ones changing the planet. The Netherlands is the size of 2 New Jerseys, and about 30% of it is below sea level. To protect their country from water, the Dutch built dams, lots of them. But that's just defense. In 1986, they decided to go on offense and take back some of the land from the sea. The first dam was 19 miles long. It basically turned a bay into a lake. The second dam sealed the deal. After 42 years of work, the Netherlands got itself a whole new province larger than Los Angeles. Humans have done the same thing all over the world, like in Hong Kong, the Philippines, Italy. Hey, take that, water! What about building stuff on land that's already land? Before NASA's missions to Mars, the most expensive project in history was the construction of the interstate highway system in the United States. It took about 35 years to finish. In today's money, it cost about $530 billion. All that cash bought 46,000 miles of road. That's almost 2 times around the globe. There are over 270 million vehicles in the U.S., more than Japan, Brazil, India, and Germany combined. But in terms of sheer effort, the roads of Rome were way more impressive. Over 2,000 years before the first automobile, the Romans built a huge network of roads, 50,000 miles long. They connected Ireland with Egypt and Turkey with Spain. The roads were pretty safe, and travelers could stay in hotels, dine in cafes, or mail a letter at the nearest post office. Only about 30% of the Earth's surface is land. The world's oceans, rivers, and lakes are full of life, and it seemed like a ridiculous task to catalog everything living in there. But 2,700 scientists from 80 countries decided to team up to do it. The cost? $650 million. Those scientists spent 10 years searching for old and new species. It was one of the biggest science projects ever attempted. They even discovered about 6,000 new species of fish, squid, and algae. The Great Wall of China is huge, 13,000 miles of walls, natural barriers, and trenches. That's about 2 times the distance from Alaska to Australia. They built it over a period of 2,000 years, with no trucks, bulldozers, electricity, just raw people power. Modern China's not exactly dropping the ball. In 2 years, China used more concrete for construction than the US ever did. I mean ever. Roads, cities, airports, everything there is huge. The Three Gorges Dam is definitely the new Great Wall of China. Over 7,600 feet long and 600 feet high. You're looking at 3 times more concrete and steel than the Hoover Dam. It's the largest concrete structure in the world and cost about $37 billion. More than 1 million people had to pack up and move to make way for it. Switzerland has the longest and deepest railway tunnel on the planet. Under the snowy Alps, builders dug 35 miles of tunnels. Every day, 200 freight and passenger trains pass through it. The amount of rock they took out to make the tunnel is about the same as 5 Great Pyramids. The whole thing cost about $12 billion. Egypt's one of the oldest nations on the planet, but now they're building one of the newest cities. It's going to be about the size of Singapore and filled with 6 million lucky people. There's going to be apartments, government buildings, entertainment, even an opera house. Oh, and a park that'll make Central Park look like someone's backyard. When it's finished, it'll be Egypt's new capital. So why bother? Well, by 2050, Cairo's going to have about 40 million people in it. Looks like they'll need more than one new city. The first flights to the moon cost about $280 billion in today's money. But SpaceX isn't letting price get in its way. The company plans to build a colony on Mars with a population of 1 million by 2050. They claim that once the program starts, you'll be able to buy a ticket to Mars for as little as $100,000. But the biggest science project ever is definitely the International Space Station. It weighs as much as 2 Boeing 747s and zooms through space at the speed of 17,500 miles per hour. That pencils out to be 5 miles per second. The station orbits the Earth 16 times per day, and it doesn't come cheap. Luckily, a whole bunch of countries share the bill, but it's definitely the most expensive room service anywhere in the galaxy. It costs $10,000 to deliver a bottle of water from Earth to the space station. Hey, at that price, I think it's important to ask, sparkling or still? Your feet are home to around 7,000 nerve endings. They have to be this sensitive to keep you balanced and not flip over. All those nerves constantly send information to your brain. It uses more power to process it than on the data from your entire torso. So, when anything happens, like extra pressure, change of temperature, or stepping on something sharp like Legos happens to your feet, it really hurts a lot. Lego bricks are made of 3 plastic polymer components. It makes them super resistant and strong. It would take a big horse or a piano to compress a Lego. When you step on it with all your weight focused in one point on a solid surface, all of its super strength strikes back at you. It gets right into that huge bundle of nerves, making things even worse. Things are slightly better on a soft rug, but that doesn't solve the problem. Lego felt so guilty for all the pain it causes, they even created anti-Lego slippers. The slippers, with an open back, fit both right and left feet. They have so much padding on the insoles, you could step on a huge brick and feel nothing. The slippers were a limited edition of 1,500 units. Random Lego fans received them as a gift from the company. Stubbing your toe hurts so much because you're exposing its tiny surface to the force of a karate punch. It's packed with nerve endings that aren't protected by much fat padding. The pain signal instantly fires into your brain. This used to save people long before antibiotics were invented. People were more careful about where they stepped to avoid all that pain. This saved them from lots of trouble. Researchers are still not 100% sure why some people are more ticklish than others. Some think it might be genetic or has to do with how sensitive your skin is. You're normally most ticklish in the most vulnerable places, like the abdomen or throat. It could be a natural reflex to push away the intruder. Most people become less ticklish as they get older and when they're sad or angry. You see someone yawn and yawn back at them for the same reasons you imitate the words and actions of others. It's a primitive, unbeatable reflex of people and some animals, like chimpanzees and dogs. Research has shown contagious yawning is also a sign of empathy and bonding. The more you try to stop yourself from yawning, the more you want to yawn. You feel so good after a sneeze because it's a massive tension release. When that happens, your body releases the so-called feel-good chemical endorphin. A lot of things, from plucking your eyebrows to working out and staying in the bright sun, can make you sneeze. You can't sneeze in your sleep because your sneezing nerves are also sleeping. Sneezing is important to your body because it clears the nose of bacteria and irritating stuff and also keeps the mucus level in balance. Sometimes one sneeze isn't enough to do all that, or it would have to be too powerful for you to handle. That's why sometimes you sneeze a few times, one after another, to make sure it worked. You inherited goosebumps from your animal ancestors. Their hairs stand up when they're cold or scared. As the hair coat rises, it becomes thicker and keeps them warm or makes them look bigger. You have way less hair than animals, so this feature is mostly useless. Still, you get goosebumps in the same situations, plus when you're emotional. The tiny muscles under your skin contract, making the hairs stand up and the areas around them protrude. You feel super tired after a long time in the sun because it makes you lose water faster and your body temperature rises. Your body and your heart have to work harder to keep the temperature normal and deliver all the vital fluids to your organs. Staying in the sun also takes down your sleep hormone levels. When you get into a darker place, it all rises again. If you want to stay active longer after a day on the beach, keep the lights bright indoors. Cuddling, hugs, and holding hands makes you happier because they release the feel-good hormones. They lift your mood, reduce stress, and also improve your immune system. Even seeing images of other people hugging can give you this effect. Your skin gets wrinkled after 5 minutes in the water thanks to evolution. A long time ago, your ancestors needed a way to grip in both wet and dry conditions. So their skin adapted to look like a tiny river drainage system. Little streams on your skin unite into large channels that flow into a central river, driving water away from your fingers and toes after long contact with water. You feel the instinct to stretch your arms over your head first thing in the morning to wake up your muscles. They lose tone overnight, and there's fluid moving along your back. When you stretch, the fluid goes back to where it belongs. It also helps your heart get back to its normal work mode after a night of pumping at slower speeds. Cats and dogs also do it for the same reasons. You fall asleep faster in a colder room because it signals to your body it's time to sleep. It also needs to lose some heat when you get in bed to conserve energy on maintaining your temperature overnight. Cooler air also helps you sleep all night without waking up and boosts your metabolism. You sometimes see stars when you stand up from lying down or sitting because of a sudden drop in blood pressure. This drop messes up brain function for a brief moment. It can cause stars, flashing lights, bands of light, sparks, or colorful rings. You can also see them after you rubbed your eyes or sneezed. When you speak, you hear both the sound coming from outside and conducted through your own vocal cords. The acoustics in your skull lowers the voice and adds some bass tones. When you hear your voice in recording, it seems higher and different because you lose these rich low frequencies. That's why most people dislike the sound of their own voice. It's just nothing like you expected it to be. You rarely like your own photos because of the mere exposure effect. It says the more you see something, the more you like it. When you look at yourself in the mirror, the image is reversed. You aren't used to seeing the real image, and that's why you don't like it. You get hangry, that's hungry when angry, when your glucose levels drop. You get it from carbs, proteins, and fats in your food. After some time passes, your brain is sending an SOS signal. It can't function properly without glucose. One more reason for your hanger is that the same genes cause both hunger and anger. They must be in balance to keep you full and happy. Your funny bone is a nerve that runs from your neck down to your hand. It's well protected at all points along the way except for your elbow. It's only covered by skin and fat there. That's why when you hit your elbow, it hurts so much. You're hitting on the nerve, and the pain travels down the forearm and hand into your fingers. The joy you feel about popping bubbly wrap has its roots in the human evolution. A long, long time ago, people spent most of their time running from predators. Now, it's all about sitting. A lot of muscle tension builds up because you hardly move. Popping bubble wrap is one of the ways to release that tension. It takes down stress levels and releases feel-good chemicals. Like other kinds of fidgeting, it also increases your attention span and helps you remember what you learned better. Your ear is especially sensitive to sounds in a high pitch range. It's built in such a way that they sound even louder to you. That's why no one likes the sound of chalk scraping on a chalkboard. The disgust is even stronger when you know it's the sound of chalk. If someone tells you it's contemporary music, you perceive it as bearable. So, it's also a thing of habit. Your legs and feet go numb or fall asleep after you keep them crossed, kneel, sit on the feet, or wear pants, socks, or shoes that are too tight. That's normal and happens because you put too much pressure on the nerves and limit the blood flow. Standing up and moving your legs is the easiest cure. You often have a raspy voice in the morning when you didn't get enough sleep. That's because your vocal cords didn't get enough rest and are slightly swollen. It also happens when you sleep in a room with dry air. When you eat right before bed, your body has to digest food in your sleep. Stomach acid can travel where it doesn't belong and mess up your vocal cords too. Yep, there's ice all around, as far as the eye can see. A white desert covers the entrance to your cave, the one where you and a bunch of other settlers live. Everyone's gathered around a fire pit, trying to keep warm, telling each other stories about how much snow they saw the other day. Some are running around playing tag, throwing sticks, whatever people used to do for fun 300,000 years ago. You're one of the earliest Homo sapiens to ever walk the earth. Others are sleeping or just resting their eyes. All around the cave, all you can hear are stomachs rumbling, sounds like a wild animal lurking around. You look out the mouth of the cave and see that the storm has cleared. Time to grab some tools and head out as a group. In the open wilderness, you find some berries covered in snow and plants that might be edible. But it's not enough to feed the whole tribe. It's the Ice Age, and there's not much vegetation growing anywhere. One of your friends spots some large footprints in the snow. The chase is on. You can't tell what it is, but it should be enough to feed everyone for a couple of days. As you go deeper into the snow-covered forest, you hear a growl behind you. You hope it's your stomach, but you look behind you and suddenly black out. An ice age is a period when large sheets of ice cover everything, changing the Earth permanently. It's partly responsible for the raising and lowering of sea levels, as well as the current layout of the continents. Picture monster-thick ice sheets spread across what's now Canada, Scandinavia, Russia, and even South America. That's all caused sea levels to change drastically, and temperatures around the world fell dramatically. And I'm not talking about just one ice age. There were a bunch of them. Scientists say there have been 5 major ice ages throughout history, lasting for millions of years. And we're in the middle of one right now. Relax, don't panic. It doesn't mean we're all going to be sleeping next to bonfires, trying to keep warm after being out all day looking for woolly mammoths. And no, there won't be a massive geological ice storm that freezes everything in its path. Ice ages have warmer periods in them that come and go, lasting for tens of thousands of years. In fact, billions of years ago, the Earth was one giant snowball with no life on it. And the sun back then was also just a cute little fireball without enough heat to melt all that ice. But as the sun got bigger and hotter, Earth's ice slowly melted away, leaving the green and blue ball we have today. We're living in the Quaternary Ice Age that's been going on for the past 2.6 million years, and counting. Some animals have thrived in this latest ice age, like whales and sharks. They've been at the top of the food chain for ages. Under them are seals, certain kinds of fish, otters, all the way down to tiny plankton. Up on the cold surface, mammals had to grow thick and shaggy fur just to stay warm. Ancient mammoths, rhinos, and bison were known to have thick rugs on them. They looked awesome. They were herbivores and ate small shrubs and whatever grass they could find. But several thousand years ago, temperatures began to rise, and most of these animals became extinct. The ones that remained evolved into the elephants, hippos, and rhinos we have today. You wake up from your blackout and find yourself face to face with a creature that kind of looks like a modern-day bobcat, except it's much bigger and furrier. It's a smilodon, an epic version of a saber-toothed cat with a mean look. It's around the same size as a male lion and has 2 front fangs that make me think twice before leaving the safety of my cave. They look scary, but scientists think their bite wasn't as powerful as today's tigers or lions. What made them tough were their giant forearms used to wrestle down anyone who got on their nerves. In packs, they were even able to take down mammoths. Either way, you don't want to be waking up next to this kitty. It's staring you down, ready to pounce. But you and your friends keep calm and slowly back off. You get the genius idea to throw a rock to distract it, then run. Nowadays, it's near impossible for a human to outsprint a lion or tiger, but humans back then were much fitter. Once the danger's over, everyone continues to look for food. It's getting dark, and you haven't found anything to bring back to the cave. Suddenly, you smell something burning. Way off in the distance, you see a thin column of smoke rising into the sky. Another settlement? You and your friends look at each other and approach the smoke cautiously. Homo sapiens first came into being about 200 or 300 years ago, but human history didn't just pop up out of nowhere. As far back as 7 million years ago, some of us decided to call it quits. We left our chimpanzee ancestors in the jungle and started doing our own thing. And that didn't just happen once. Over those next millions of years, there were over 20 different human species. Some were our ancestors, some were twigs from a completely different branch. Some were tiny, others better adapted for hot or cold weather. Before you know it, you see a group of Neanderthals cooking some meat, sharpening their tools. Neanderthals were the first to migrate to Europe. Scientists believe they were around somewhere between 40,000 to 400,000 years ago. They occupied all areas between Europe and Asia, while Homo sapiens, that's us, were still all the way down in Africa. You enter their camp and immediately see the differences between each other. They're stocky and look a bit different, but there are some similarities, like flat teeth for chewing and gnawing and big skulls for their big brains. They even have clothes on, like you. According to archaeologists, they lived in shelters and made tools out of stone, sticks, and bones. They welcome you inside and give you a tour like no other. You're officially meeting another human species. They take you inside their cave and show you some of their cave paintings. They were the first artists of their time. Many of their galleries are still around today, like the ones in caves in Spain. You know their style: minimalist paintings of deer, a large handprint. They also dabbled a bit in jewelry making. They made necklaces out of eagle talons and animal fangs. They were also probably the first ones to harness the power of fire. Did they discover it when a bolt of lightning hit a tree? Or when one of them dropped a rock on another rock, creating a spark? No one really knows. But they were able to recreate it and use it to keep warm, to cook food, to see in the darkness, and to protect themselves. After the nice tour, you hang around the campfire to keep warm. They even offer you some extra clothes for the journey home, mostly thick, shaggy mammoth coats. If only you could talk to each other, that would be awesome. But it's getting dark, and you need to head back to the tribe. You say your goodbyes and thank them for teaching you how to draw a deer, and for that sack of food they gave you. The Ice Age was important for the development of the modern Homo sapiens. Because of the extreme cold and other harsh conditions, they had to adapt to survive, be extra clever and innovative. They developed advanced tools and even used bone needles to sew warm clothing. They may have hosted the first ever runway show. When the climate started to get warmer, they developed farming techniques to sustain themselves and mainly settled near large bodies of water like rivers or lakes, while others opted to be near seas and oceans. They, we, were even the first to domesticate animals. Fast forward a few 100,000 years and here we are. Dwarf lantern shark. Sounds kind of like a superhero, huh? This is the smallest shark in the world. It's only the size of your palm, and it can glow in the dark. Well, that's a superpower. Blue-ringed octopus. The most beautiful octopus in the world. But the bright colors of animals usually indicate they're venomous. An antidote to its venom is yet to be found, although this little guy is the size of a TV remote. Sarcastic fringehead. Though this fish is only 12 inches long, it can eat prey much larger. Its jaw can open just like a dinosaur's. The sarcastic fringehead has been known to attempt to swallow a whole octopus. Hey, can't we all just get along? Red lionfish. This beauty has an incredible appetite. It can eat fish 2/3 the size of its body, and it hides the needles on its fins, which contain a potent venom. Striped surgeonfish. It has scalpel-sharp spikes on its fins, not to perform surgery, but to hunt. And unlike a doctor, it has venom on them. Black dragonfish. This is the only fish that can produce infrared light thanks to the chlorophyll in its eyes. It lives only at a depth of 6,600 feet, and you can only reach that depth in a special submarine. Reef stonefish. This genius of camouflage usually lies on the bottom and pretends to be a rock. Tourists can often step on it, and sharp needles on its back can easily cut even through the hard sole of a boot. Viperfish. This fish, the size of your forearm, has the largest teeth in relation to its head in the world. But you're unlikely to encounter it because it lives at a depth of 13,000 feet. Lamprey. These are parasites that stick up to other creatures and live off of them. Only these guys are 10 times bigger than the average river leech. Mega piranha. The most aggressive fish in the world, the size of a Doberman dog. A pack of these guys could leave nothing of an entire cow in just a couple of minutes. Fortunately for all of us, they ceased to exist 8 million years ago. Whew! Black pacu. Pretty ordinary big fish until it opens its mouth. It has human-like teeth, and the richest black pacu even had golden dental crowns. Just kidding. payara, the most dangerous freshwater resident. It can swallow prey half its size. Even piranhas fear this monster. Anglerfish. It has a fishing rod on its head. It's a bait that lures small fish right into the mouth of this hunter. Slender snipe eel. It's very long and flexible due to the number of vertebrae in its back. There are 750 of them. By comparison, we only have 33 to 34 vertebrae. Barracuda. Its jaw is similar to that of a great white shark, but its trademark is speed. It would beat any Olympic swimmer at 29 miles per hour. Ocean sunfish. It's a fish the size of an adult person, and it's the heaviest bony fish in the world. Although peaceful, thank goodness, they sometimes damage the bottoms of small fishing boats. Frilled shark. Its length would allow it to successfully play basketball. It hunts with the strategy of a snake. The shark bends its body and then makes a sharp dash forward, and it has 300 teeth. Plenty of frills there. The electric eel. Its feature is its electrical organs, which can discharge 4 times as much as a normal household socket. The electric eel shock can easily stun a large horse. Box jellyfish. It doesn't just drift in the waves near a shore like a regular jellyfish. Oh no! These guys are very fast and can even catch up with a person in the water. And their sting is hazardous. They don't look for trouble, but they're always ready to defend themselves. Goblin shark. Its snout ends in a long blade-like outgrowth, and its jaw could extend all the way to the end of the snout. It's one of the most terrifying sharks in the world, despite its tender pink color. Saltwater crocodile. This is the most bad-tempered crocodile on the planet, and one of the largest at 20 feet. They're not afraid of humans and only consider us as food. Hey, don't snack on me. Great white shark, the most notorious inhabitant of the oceans. Once, a great white shark pierced the bottom of a tourist yacht. The boat sank, but luckily no one was injured or eaten. Greenland shark. These are the real long livers of the marine world. They have a very slow metabolism and can live up to 300 years. For comparison, the oldest human was 122 years old. Giant oarfish. This fish is as long as a giant anaconda, and it holds the title of the largest bonefish in the world. Giant manta ray. This creature might look like it's smiling, but it'll rush at you without hesitation. They reach up to 16 feet in diameter and have a very sharp spike with a neurotoxin. Great. Orca. They can swim at the speed of a car and are as big as a large minivan. And they're the only sea hunters that can jump out onto the coast and grab their prey there. Dunkleosteus. This guy was the size of a limousine. Although it had no teeth, it had bony plates that gave it one of the strongest bites among sea creatures. Camarasaurus. This is an ancient clam of incredible size, but 90% of its entire body was a cone shell. It was heavy, which prevented it from moving very fast. So most of the time, Camarasaurus lay motionless on the bottom, waiting for small fish to swim by. Kronosaurus. It was similar to a crocodile, only several times larger. The remains of one of them contained dinosaur bones, so Kronosaurus hunted not only in the sea, but also on land. Helicoprion. One of the few species to survive the Triassic extinction event. It did so thanks to its high intelligence and a powerful fighting tool, the circular saw-shaped jaw on its nose. Elasmosaurus. Its appearance resembles a giraffe, only twice as big. And these guys were real travelers. They swallowed small rocks to grind their food. 300 rocks from all over the world were found in the remains of one of them. Colossal squid. It weighs as much as 2 polar bears and is 5 times as long as a human. They're extremely rare, but still exist far out in the cold waters of our planet. Humpback whale. Like ordinary whales, they feed on plankton and small fish, using their mouth as a huge net. They use their giant tail to stun large schools of fish. Mosasaurus. Aren't you impressed that I can say these Latin names? No? Oh well. The Mosasaurus were as big as a subway car and were the kings of the seas 66 million years ago. Their jaw and skull were snake-like, and they could swallow their prey whole. Today, we can still find their relatives, the monitor lizards. They monitor where you go. Not really. Melville's Leviathan. Now this guy had the biggest teeth ever known. They were basically as big as half your hand, and their appearance resembled something between an orca and a sperm whale. Leadsichthys. They were bigger than a school bus, but they weren't hunters. Their large size prevented them from being fast, so they fed mostly on plankton. Megalodon. Ooh, the most famous ancient sea creature. They were heavier than a tank or even a small house. Some people think they're still living in the deep waters of the ocean, but this, of course, is not true. Basilosaurus. Giant ancestors of modern whales. They had large lower limbs. Perhaps it's because they used to be land creatures, but in the course of evolution, they gradually moved into the water. Cachalot. Sounds like it should have been on a baseball team. They were almost as long as a basketball court. Their brains weighed 15 pounds. That's 7 times the weight of a human brain. Say whale. Okay, whale. Actually, it's its name, not a command. One of the best swimmers of all whales. Say whale could go up to 31 miles per hour and dive deeper than the height of the Empire State Building. Shastosaurus. Though only bones remain of this monster, calculations say it was as long as a tennis court or as a truck and trailer. Blue whale. The largest mammal to ever live on our planet. Its heart alone weighs as much as a big motorcycle, and its veins are as wide as a big pot. And these guys can sing songs. Lion's mane jellyfish. The world's largest jellyfish. It has a hat 7 feet wide and tentacles as long as a 10-story building. Although they're not dangerous at all, people can still get tangled in their incredible tentacles like in a net. Portuguese man-o'-war. Although its head is very small, just like an ordinary jellyfish, its tentacles are as long as half a soccer field. And these things are venomous. They paralyze fish and anything caught in them, even people. So, stay away, huh? You're going out with some friends. Good food, music, nice. You arrive, say hello to your people, and "I don't like your outfit," one of your friends shouts out. He looks about as surprised as you are. "Why is your haircut so awful?" you ask him. You slap your hands over your mouth a little late, though. "Why did you just say that?" Another friend, Jennifer, starts saying how she didn't even want to come. She thought it'd be boring. Before you can stop her, you tell her you came just to spend time with her. You like her. Uncomfortable pause. A sweet Saturday night turns into one of the most awkward moments ever. That's what you tell the waiter when she comes over to offer you more water. It's like everything that pops into your head gets shot out of your mouth instantly. Your friends feel the same way, and they all agree no more talking, in case someone else says something embarrassing. You walk down the street thinking about what happened, and notice that people around you seem kind of excited. A huge man with an epic beard and leather jacket is talking loudly on the phone. Something about how his favorite color is pink, and that he wants to become a gardener, and that he hates riding a motorcycle. A second later, he blushes a deep red, mumbles something about forgetting everything he just said, ends the call, and runs off. A woman in front of you hails a cab that's passing by. "Drive me for $10?" she asks. "Of course I will, even though I'm about to fall asleep. I don't want to drive a cab anymore." He covers his mouth too, but the damage is done. "What a wonderful, wonderful day," shouts some guy on the other side of the street. He's wearing headphones, smiling, and clearly has no idea he just said that out loud. You ask another woman what time it is. "I don't have time to take out my phone and I don't want to," she says, and immediately apologizes. So, why is everyone being so honest? From one moment to the next, the concept of lying, or just not saying every little thing that's in your head, has disappeared. You meet your neighbor in the elevator and tell him that the rock music he plays every night is loud and just pretty lame. He tells you your shoes are always dirty. You go into your apartment, put your phone on to charge, and turn on the news. The news anchor's, well, he's talking about the weather and what's going on inside his body. Apparently, he ate a burrito this morning that had been in his fridge for about a month. A hurricane is coming to the southern regions, and a thunderstorm is already raging in my stomach. The broadcast gets interrupted. Technical issues. The phone rings. It's the manager from your bank. She offers you a terrible loan. Those are her exact words. Then she says she hopes you won't be able to make the payments so that the bank can collect interest. You'll probably go bankrupt, and she'll get a year-end bonus. And then there's a few seconds of silence, a gasp, some screaming, and she hangs up. Well, that was entertaining. Just then, you dream up an awesome plan. You need to track down as many of your friends as possible. Find out what they really think about you. You're not afraid of telling the truth, but hearing it from your friends could be interesting. But finding someone to talk to isn't that easy. The streets are noticeably emptier than they were before. People aren't leaving their homes. What if they say something terrible right in someone's face? Some people are just shy. Others are afraid of losing all their friends. In this new world, nobody can hide their true feelings. The entertainment industry goes into a meltdown. Video game companies can't lie about what kind of product they're developing. If there are any glitches or bugs, the CEO just tells everyone. It's impossible to hide anything anymore. Shares go into total freefall. You watch a teaser trailer for a new game, amazing graphics, music, crazy complicated storyline, and then it suddenly cuts to a bunch of code writers telling you that, in reality, the game will look much worse. Why even buy it? The same sort of thing's happening with the movie industry. Producers and stars can't hype up their new movie if they don't actually like it. Pretty much everybody stops doing live interviews or press events. I mean, you can't release a new blockbuster that all the actors in it already said was terrible. A lot of celebrities start telling people what they really think, and it doesn't end well for anyone. But humans just don't speak their mind now. They write it too. You start to shed friends on social media, block them, tell them you're only friends with them to make you look more popular. People start making their profiles private and block you from tagging them. Online stories start writing much more honest product descriptions and online reviews. Those actually become awesome. You can really trust them. The like button gets a whole new makeover. You don't just like all your friends' photos anymore. You got to really like the photo. And if you don't, you find yourself writing comments. A lot of people start deleting their profiles. The whole world's economy becomes unstable. Shareholders and CEOs are afraid to give interviews. Share prices are all over the place. The solution? Keep silent and try not to think too much. Banks and insurance companies are closing down all over the world. Scammers are totally powerless. They just can't lie to you anymore. It's hilarious, sort of. If you're applying for a new job, bad news. You can't pad your resume anymore. The upside, though, companies tell you up front about having to work overtime and that the coffee machine in the break room brews terrible coffee. Friends quarrel with friends, couples break up, close relationships become way more tense. If you're invited to a lame party, you can't play it cool and think up an excuse. You just blurt out that you don't want to go. It's a pretty big shock to the system. You're honest to everyone, even yourself. But after a few weeks, something changes. In the beginning, you were offended when people said what they thought right to your face. But now, you realize just how silly it is. So what if someone doesn't like you? Just shrug it off. Sure, you might lose some friends, but at the same time, you'll probably gain some new ones, real friends who will have your back and will always be honest with you. Every time you tell the truth, it feels like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders. It helps people just be better. Sure, it can still be awkward, but humans seem more likely to actually solve their problems, not just pretend they don't exist. People start to treat the truth differently. Remember when you told someone they had something stuck in their teeth? It wasn't comfortable for everyone. Now, everyone's grateful for your helpful comments. People in relationships become much happier. Talking, being honest, all that makes relationships much stronger. And another really interesting thing happens. If you like someone's hair, clothes, whatever, you can just say it. Since everyone's honest now, no one will think you're being creepy or anything. And this truth thing, it makes people more healthy. Since everyone's more relaxed and confident, stress-related health problems start to disappear. People stop being lazy. Since it's impossible to look your boss in the eye and lie about working all day, you either start working harder or just quit. Everything gets much simpler. Music even becomes more beautiful. More and more artists stop being afraid of being honest in their songs, and this brings them much closer to their audience. Directors, vloggers, producers, everyone starts making content about what they actually care about. Movies become more bold, provocative, and surprising. And if you want to lose yourself in some blockbuster action movie, you'll actually be able to find out if it's any good before you watch it. What a world!
You wake up in your house and take out an umbrella. It's Saturday, and it's cleaning time. You reach for the magical button, and the dishes, furniture, walls, floors, and even your clothes in the closet get sparkling clean. You have the rest of the day to yourself, and so you lie on the dust-free couch with your favorite book. This sci-fi setting was everyday reality for Frances Gabe for decades. She didn't clean her house at all. She didn't hire anyone to do it, yet it remained perfectly clean. Frances was born in 1915 in Idaho. Her father, Frederick, was an architect and building contractor. The family had to move a lot for his job, and Frances attended 18 elementary schools. She said she was born a most unusual person, and everything moved much too slowly for her at school. The girl preferred the company of her dad and his coworkers. She watched them and learned their craft. Frances graduated from Girls Polytechnic High School in Portland at 16. Next year, she got married. By the late 1970s, she was divorced and a single mother of 2 kids. She always thought of housework as a thankless, unending job. One day, she noticed fig jam slithering down her wall. Frances got so mad, she decided to put an end to all of this for good. She brought out the garden hose, got rid of the jam, and started designing her own self-cleaning house. She spent more than a decade and thousands of dollars of her own savings transitioning her Oregon home into a giant floor-to-ceiling dishwasher. By 1984, it was all finished. Frances received an official U.S. patent for her self-cleaning building construction. It consisted of 68 separate devices that made all the cleaning fully automated. Every room had sprinklers in the ceiling. Frances would put on her raincoat, take out an umbrella, and press a button to activate the sprinklers. They'd spray soap and water in a circular motion. Then, it was all rinsed. Warm air then went through the vents to dry it all. In less than an hour, the walls, floors, bathrooms, toilet, and bath were all crisp, clean, and dry. The floors were coated with many layers of marine varnish and ever so slightly tilted toward the walls. There were gutters at the edge of every room. Water from the sprinklers didn't go to waste. It drained out of the house into the doghouse to wash the dog along the way. Furniture that wasn't supposed to get rinsed was covered in clear acrylic cases made of resin. Books had waterproof jackets. Papers were sealed in a plastic box, and pictures on the walls, including the patent, had glass cases to keep them safe. Awnings covered the beds to keep linen dry. Frances also invented her own waterproof fabric for the upholstery. The cupboard would make dishes clean without any assistance needed. Clothes would be placed inside a cabinet on hangers, washed and dried, and then, still on hangers, pulled into the closet with chains. The electrical outlets were all safely covered, of course. There were no carpets or curtains, no dust collectors allowed. Sometimes, the pipes would burst and water would spray in all unwanted directions. But all in all, it was running smoothly for about 20 years. Frances was dreaming about more self-cleaning homes and even self-cleaning office buildings, hospitals, and villages around the world. Her idea was to help single moms and women fed up with cleaning. and also people who can't clean due to health issues. She was traveling the US giving lectures on her invention and showing a model of her design. She was featured in newspapers and on TV, but the idea never took off. By 2002, she couldn't afford to run the house and renew her patents, so they expired. Frances gave tours of the house, so she had some money, but that wasn't enough. This and natural disasters like floods and earthquakes turned the once cleanest house into a cluttered construction. In 2009, the lady moved into a retirement home. The house was sold some years later to a new owner who now has to clean it himself. Many people mocked the idea, and the self-cleaning home revolution never happened. Still, architects and builders these days admit her idea was functional and worth bringing to life. In 1998, when computers were taking off and taking up all of your attention, someone came up with and patented a brilliant idea of a motivational candy dispenser. It would be equipped with an optical sensor attached to your screen. The sensor keeps an eye on all of your activities and rewards you with candy for sending a work email or finishing a long important paper. The more work tasks you perform, the more candy you get. A cyborg-like wrist pouch to carry pencils, phone, lip balm, and other little necessities on your wrist was patented in 2001. If you don't enjoy raking leaves in the fall, you'd probably love the unique solution described by its inventor as compatible with the natural body movement of a person. Leaf-gathering pants have zip-on flexible tubes attached to pant legs and a net fastened in between to gather leaves as you walk. You can easily remove the large piles you leave behind later. The greenhouse helmet was designed to bring nature to big city guys. You put on a self-enclosed anti-fog covered dome on your head with tiny plants on built-in shelves. When you exhale, the plants take care of all the bad elements and recharge you with the purest oxygen. The helmet would be equipped with an intercom system to let you communicate with people outside your dome. In case you have a pet, but don't have 24 hours in the day to give it all the non-stop physical attention it wants, the automatic pet petter is something you'd appreciate. It works for both cats and dogs with its mechanical hand and plays relaxing tunes to them. The gadget is activated when Spot or Jingles gets on a motion sensor platform. Pet ears can get in the wrong places, like a soup plate, and spread the food all over the place. Back in 1980, someone decided to take care of it and patented the lightweight, adjustable, and easy-to-use animal ear protectors. They were designed especially for pets, mostly dogs, with long ears to prevent any contact with food. They also suggested decorating the tubes on special occasions. An anti-eating face mask was invented around the same time for those who have to spend their days around food for professional reasons. Chefs, cooks, and other restaurant staff dealing with food can put it on and lock it with a little padlock. Breathing and talking are still possible, but it makes eating highly problematic. The most important thing is not to lose that key, or you'd have to go on an eternal diet. Sled pants were equipped with a seat to slide down hills, and leg and waist straps to keep them securely attached to the owner. They were configured to take the shape of the human body. To stop the sled once you reach your destination, you'd have to fold the lower part up and walk away, pretending you didn't just ride your own pants. The 1923 head exerciser was invented to give you better circulation. Two people would hold a metal plate between their teeth. The plates were held together by a spring. As the pair pulled each in their direction, they'd take part in a sort of tug-of-war for the head. Someone came up with a brilliant idea of a watch that would let you know how long you have left to live in years, months, and minutes. The life expectancy guess would be based on some statistical methods and personal health factors of the owner. The watch had a microprocessor for storing data and buttons and switches to reset that data. Pet display clothing would be the perfect choice for those who can't leave their master at home alone. It's a vest or a belt with many tubular passageways going all around the body of the owner. The whole construction is see-through. There are little chambers for feeding and to take the pet out. An automatic tip requester consisted of an artificial hand and a box for cash to wear on your wrist. When the money someone would drop down the connecting tube didn't seem enough, a no sale sign would pop up. Sea shoes invented in the 1960s made walking on water possible. They used duck-foot propellers and required some good sense of balance from the owner to stay afloat.
You run through the night forest for more than an hour. You're even faster than a cheetah. You're not tired or cold. You hear a mouse rustling in the roots of a tree and catch all the smells of the forest. With night vision, you see a bird in the night sky. You can go for months without food or water. Gills allow you to swim underwater freely. This is how evolution made humans in a parallel world. Here, they're ideal organisms prepared for anything they might meet in the wild. In our world, things are more complicated. We evolved, but didn't always get stronger. Humans only survived because they adapted and changed the world around them. A human only has 32 teeth. When they fall out, they no longer grow. But evolution doesn't stop. Our food has become softer and more nutritious. You don't need to chew it for a long time. New diet reduced the jaw and enlarged the brain. As a result, there's no room left for the 4 teeth that are closest to the joint. We call them wisdom teeth. In the future, we'll only have 28 teeth. And even today, 35% of people don't have the wisdom teeth. Homo sapiens is the only mammal to have a chin. This is the protrusion along the lower edge of the jawbone. Even our relatives, gorillas and chimpanzees, have their jaws slanted inward. Anthropologists think that the chin is a result of reduction of human face. Perhaps in the past, the chin supported our powerful jaw and enhanced our strength. Over millions of years, the face has shrunk, but the chin has remained. Put your hand on a flat surface. Connect your ring finger and thumb. Bend your wrist, and you'll see the palmaris longus. 15% of people don't have this muscle already. It doesn't affect the grip strength and has lost its meaning today. Millions of years ago, it allowed our ancestors to deftly climb trees. Evolution deprived us of this useful skill, but the remainder of it remained with us. Dogs, horses, monkeys, and many other animals can move their ears. This allows them to hear better and communicate with each other. Humans have a long, flexible neck, and evolution has left them without this ability. Still, 20% of modern humans can do it. This is another reminder of a time when we weren't much different from other animals. 10% of people have a Darwin's tubercle in their ear. In the past, we had pointy ears looking like the modern macaw's ones, and this little bump is the proof. When an emperor penguin hatches eggs, it doesn't eat for 115 days. Scorpions can stay hungry for a whole year. Evolution hasn't given humans a camel-like hump of fat or the ability to hibernate like a bear. Every morning, our ancestors woke up and fought for their survival. We need a lot of energy for this, so we have to eat every day. This isn't very convenient, especially when your food isn't sold in a supermarket but runs away from you through the forest or field. In the human brain, at any given moment, 100 billion neurons work. Thanks to this, you have a good memory and can talk. This is essential for survival. A big brain has a flaw. For neurons to work, it needs a lot of fuel. It makes up just 2.5% of body weight, but consumes 20% of its energy. In 2 hours of playing chess, a grandmaster burns 560 calories. A professional tennis player will spend the same amount of energy in a single hour. Big brains make us weak. Even a small chimp is much stronger than a human. Why do you need muscles if you no longer swing from branches? But you need a big brain to negotiate and cooperate with other people. We got weaker, and we like lying on the couch more and more. This is a comfortable position for thinking. At night, our ancestors were especially vulnerable. When you sleep in a new place, the left side of your brain is more awake than the right one. This brain reaction is called the first night effect. This is an ancient reaction of the body to the dangers that awaited a human in the dark. 40 to 60 million years ago, evolution gave us yet another fear. We're born with the fear of being bitten by a snake or spider. Apparently, these animals were the main danger to the first primates. Anthropologists say we became runners 2 million years ago. Broad shoulders make it convenient to swing your arms and keep balance. A special ligament extends from the spine to the back of the head. It stabilizes the head while running. No primate has strong gluteal muscles. They only turn on to full power when you're running. Hairless and 3 million sweat glands keep our bodies from overheating. People are perfect runners, but evolution has made us slow. You'll never overtake a chimp on a short distance, and that's not mentioning cheetahs. They accelerate to an incredible 70 miles per hour. But almost all land animals are sprinters and don't run for more than 10 to 15 minutes. Humans are adapted for long distances. Walking two legs helped our ancestors solve many problems. They freed their hands to carry food or tools. Two legs and a straight back made our ancestors larger and even scarier for other animals. When you stand on two legs, you'll quickly see a saber-toothed tiger, which is waiting for you in the tall grass of the plains or the African savanna. Your body weight is distributed over only two limbs, and this has consequences. You can calmly walk down the street, stumble, and get injured over that. Consider this our payment for upright walking. So why do we need toes? Certainly not to hit them on the furniture. When our ancestors lived in the trees, toes helped them cling to branches. Imagine you can work at the computer, draw pictures, or cook scrambled eggs, all with your feet. Cool, but good old evolution has deprived us of this skill. Today, we're not sitting in the trees, but our feet remain flexible. Come to think of it, hooves would be more suitable for us. They're durable and don't need shoes. But until we evolve again, our feet remain fragile. Either of them has 26 bones. This doesn't make our walking or running any safer. You go to the cinema, take your popcorn basket, and start munching on it in anticipation of a great couple of hours. But then you start choking. Those few minutes of coughing and involuntary tears seem to last forever. The human is the only mammal that can choke on its food. We can't eat and breathe at the same time. The reason for this is the structure of our vocal apparatus. Your larynx is down below, thanks to which you can talk, but not while eating. Goosebumps, horripilation, gooseflesh, these are the names of the reflex that makes your skin not smooth but bumpy. This happens when you're cold or scared. Greetings from the Stone Age. Our ancestors were covered in thick hair. When they got scared, the hair follicles rose. This made them large and menacing for other animals. This natural reaction warmed the body as the air grew colder. The body of modern people no longer has long and thick hair. But if that movie is really scary, or you forgot your jacket in the evening, goosebumps still appear. Bears, hedgehogs, bats, some turtles, fish, and insects. All these creatures have one thing in common: they hibernate. Scientists claim that our ancestors were also on this list. In a cave in the north of Spain, researchers found fossilized bones of ancient people. The analysis showed that 500,000 years ago, humans could spend several months hibernating, similar to bears. Thanks to this, they survived Ice Age. Wow, how I miss this skill. Our eyes allow us to see dust in the air and huge mountains on the horizon. We see the world in color and recognize each other's faces. And when it gets darker, our vision quickly adapts to new conditions. But we don't see well in the dark. Evolution hasn't given us the sight of a tarsier. This primate is the size of a baseball and can see perfectly in the dark. Tarsiers could easily catch a beetle flying through the night forest. Still, I wouldn't want my eyes to take up most of my face, and beetles are actually not among my favorite after-dark snacks. How about you? That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos